If you are a real estate agent, new, seasoned, any type of realtor, this video is for you. We are talking about managing your business in a shifting market. All right, everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today I am here with Henrik from our Keller Williams Studio City office, team leader extraordinaire. Henrik, we talked the other day about a seminar you attended. I wanted to take this time, you and I, and kind of share your big takeaways for that, because it was pretty good stuff.
It was very impactful, and it's funny, right? I've taken Shift multiple times, and every single time you take it, it is actually, they shift the class to tie in more to the market in the day and age that we're living in right now. So it was a very important class, and I encourage everybody to be able to make sure you take the Shift class if it's in an area around where you live.
Gotcha.
So I think the main takeaway on a more of a macro level is don't panic, right? I think people are so fear driven,
right,
that it's we're not going over a cliff, right? I think one of the main points that we focused on was 2008 versus 2022.
Right.
And to make sure people understand, it's not the same, right? We are not in a real estate driven recession, right? And short sales, we talked about short sales and NODs, and it's like, well, come on, let's be realistic right now, right? Everybody has hundreds of thousands, if not 50,000 or 100,000 equity in their property, right? So we're not going to get to that point. But I think the main takeaway I had is, you're going to see the market, as far as the conversation is interest rates, you're going to see it stabilize by the start of 2023. So the rest of this, the next 2 months in Q3 and Q4, you'll see a little bit of like,
so
you'll come see the stabilization.
So be prepared for interest rates to spike and drop, spike and drop.
The Fed is trying to lower inflation without causing a recession, right? So there's this terminology of soft landing, right? So they want to make sure that they can bring down the cost of everything else that you see out there that's got to skyrocket it without us taking into a recession. Because if it goes into a recession, now they got to go back and now we're lowering rates, right? And they don't want to have this confusion amongst buyers, sellers, and agents. So the more we're informed on it, the better off we're going to be able to educate our buyers and our sellers and our clients. So the main thing about that is you're going to see a level off of interest rates. And, the bump that happened with the Fed a couple days ago actually took interest rates down.
Yeah. Isn't that interesting?
And people always think, right? I mean, the general consensus is, the rates went up, interest rates are going to go up. It's not how it applies. Your mortgage rates are not tied to, the Fed bumping their rate. Your credit cards, your line of credit, and things like that of that nature are, but not your mortgage, right?
They're tied to the...
They're parallel, but they're not like this. They're more like this, right? So,
but they're tied to the Treasury bill. So when you see the yield on the Treasury bill go down, you'll see interest rates soften.
Absolutely. So I think, and what all the experts that I've talked to and all the people a lot smarter than me say, we're going to level off around 4.5%.
Okay.
So you'll see that, and you'll see that as you go into starting of Q1 of next year. You'll see the kind of a level off and back to somewhat normality. Besides, right now it's too much unknown in the market, and it's causing confusion.
But as far as foreclosures, as agents, I'm sure we get those calls from all these different companies of take our program, you'll be a certified asset a program to be an REO broker. And there's a lot of other real estate companies that are naming directors of the REO divisions that are out there. But in the Shift conversation, was REOs even a topic?
The number of NOTs and NODs that are in the market, it's such a fraction of the overall market that your effort into it should be non-existent, right? And one of the things that we talked about, right, and you kind of shift into more of on a micro scale, more regional to the agent, like what do you do, right? Okay, so the market's going to level off next year, but we still have this year. We still have 6 months of, we got to make money and we got to sell houses, right? So what do you do? And without saying, okay, I'm going to put all my effort into the NOD market, that's, again, very non-existent, is your database, right? It's the oldest thing in real estate is we always say, go back to your database. So I'll talk about that in a little bit.
Sure.
But I took some notes that I think are very important. 2 things that we kind of highlighted, right? 1, a healthy business focuses on profit. Bottom line, right?
Any business.
If you want to say you're running a good business, great. Look at your profit. Are you making money? If you're not making money, you're not running a healthy business. I don't care what the back end looks like, right? Sure. You're just not healthy. And 2, are you unit driven? Right? This is very, very important because we live in Southern California, right? Prices have gone up by 30% overall last year. So now we're selling homes that are, $2 million. Last year we would have sold them, 2 years ago we would have sold it for maybe $1 million, 1.2. So an agent that does 3 or 4 deals and has an $8 million volume says, I have a fantastic year. And then you go through the market that we're going to go right now where it's slowing down a little bit, prices are starting to come down, and now you're still selling the 4 units, but now you're making $5 million in volume.
Got you.
That your income is impacted, right? So you control your profit by controlling your unit count.
So the days of I'm a $20 million producer isn't not necessarily the right mindset to have. Don't focus in on volume is what I hear you say.
Yeah.
Focus in on units.
Focusing on units, and in a downward cycle, and we're shifting down right now, right? So let's just say you did 20 units last year and it was a gangbuster year. I guarantee you probably lost market share last year doing more units. It's because it was so saturated.
Right.
The idea is when the market turns, for you not to necessarily do 30 units, but not to also do 10. Try to maintain that 20 because
Gotcha.
once the market shifts back the other direction, now you still have your 20 units, but you have a bigger share of the pie. Your market share by default has grown.
Right.
So it's the idea is focus on the units and focus on maintaining your business.
Because you're kind of saying as other agents who aren't focused on units, their unit count's going to go down.
Absolutely.
So their income's going to go down along with that. And if you're still holding on to 20 units as a base, you'll still have whatever that volume equivalates to. And then as the market shifts back, you've already got 20. Now you go to 25, where that other agent was at 16 or 10. Now going back up to 20, you're going to see that. Okay.
Focusing on units. And I know, like, being in LA, it's like, hey, I had that $12 million property. That's fantastic. I hope everybody has 20 of those. But the reality is, okay, you sell it. Great. While the other guy is taking market share and selling $21 million properties, right? When that 12 million is no longer moving because the interest rates have gone up, this guy's still selling the $1 million properties, right?
Right.
So he's accumulating more of the homes sold by default, more of the market share.
Gotcha.
So that once again, when he does shift, guess what? Those people that he was working with now are still going to be working with him. They have referrals. You have 20 chances of a potential referral versus this one listing that's just sitting there and requiring a lot of your time and energy.
That could be 20 future sellers.
Absolutely.
Coming down
Buyers,
the road
sellers,
where
referrals.
you had one, and at $12 million, he's probably not selling in the next 5 to 7 years, where this other entry-level seller or buyer now is ready to move on to the next stage of his life, and you just have 20 opportunities to sell that. Makes a lot of sense.
We're on pace to sell 1 million less units in the United States this year versus last year, right? It's a significant number. But we're still going to sell about 5.5 million units. That's still about 5.5 million units. And one thing I found interesting was, unless you sell 5.6 million units a year, you don't have a problem, right?
Right.
If you sell 20 units, guess what? You got room to grow. If you sell 5, you got room to grow. So there's still so much business happening out there.
Right.
But the problem is, you got to get out of your head. And I think we get into our own head and we say, well, I don't even want to have that interest conversation with Tom because he's already going to say no, it's too high. Have that conversation anyway.
Right.
And if you don't, then don't, it could be a cares call, right? I think another important factor was build a fortress around your database. Meaning, your database now more than ever has to be this wall around it. Nobody gets in and nobody gets out, right? It's just you.
So when you mean by wall, you're talking about competitive real estate agents coming in there.
Yep. Look, if you're not touching base with your clients, I promise you somebody else is.
Yeah.
Right? And they're your clients.
Yeah.
And the idea is, hey, how are you doing?
Yeah.
How's everything? How's the family? How's the kid? How's college? Whatever it may be, right? Just follow up with them. Develop that relationship and so they understand that that you're there.
I want to piggyback on that too, and also make sure that when you're doing a transaction, that the experience with that agent or that client is really well, because that old saying is, if you're only as good as your last deal, means a lot. I've got a client, I had her for 20 years and done 4 real estate transactions, and this last one just didn't end with rainbows and butterflies, and she called me, 20-year friend, to tell me she's cheating on me and she's going with somebody else, and it was like, I love you too, but I just feel this disconnect. And I was like, wow, like all these great things that I've done, and I support her, and hopefully that guy will not do the amazing job I did, and she'll come back. But I think leaving that experience with your clients at the end is super important as well.
Absolutely.
So not only build that wall like you're saying, but make sure that you're leaving them with the best service at the end.
The report that you have with them has to be outstanding, and especially now.
Yeah.
Right. It's funny. Last year it was bye, knowing because they were coming out of the woodwork, right?
Yeah.
Now they're not.
Yeah.
So now that you have to understand, it's not because I don't have enough business now, so I have to be nice to you. It's develop a habit of always making sure that you offer top-notch service, whatever the market looks like. Two things I wanted to just kind of mention off this.
Sure.
So we surveyed a bunch of agents and to find out, okay, there's a lot of top-producing agents of why were your clients selling, right? So we took a bunch of Q&As to find out what was the top two things.
This was at Shift.
Yeah.
Okay.
Top two reasons people were selling, because it's important that to understand, okay, the market's shifting. Okay, I have to get out there. I have to talk to people. What am I saying? Right? And the idea is you have to find your client's motivation. What is my motivation to sell, right? I'm not going to come tell you. Sometimes you got to ask the questions. So two of the top motivations to sell. One, equity. I have a bunch of equity in my house and I want the money.
Right.
Simple as that. I bought the house for $800,000. It's worth 1.6. I want the money.
Yeah.
Right. And the second one is relocation, retirement. So I no longer need a 4,000 square foot house.
Right.
I have a condo. I need to be able to sell it because I want to, get a house now.
Right.
I'm retiring. I'm moving out of state. Whatever it was tied to some form of relocating from that property into another property for a particular reason. And the reason I know, we tied it all to one because it was very close to, I want a house from a condo. I want a condo to a house, right?
Right.
And but overwhelmingly it was equity. Like, I mean, if it was probably a 75-25 split between equity, people wanted to cash out on the value of their house, and that hasn't changed. Prices have still gone up.
Yeah.
This year to last year, we're still moving up in price.
Yeah.
So that's the the interesting about the market is it's still saving us because property values are still going up, and inventory is still relatively low compared to where we were, historically. 4 things to focus on, right? So they really hammered this home with us, and I wanted to make sure I share that. Motivation, right? As an agent, what is your motivation? Get your mind right. That there is no, I'm gonna go try. It's like the oldest saying in the world. No, you're gonna go do, right?
Yeah.
So get your mind right. Understand that, there's a contact sport. Have your business plan. Go do it. 2, find them motivated. Find your people. Understand what motivates them to sell. Okay. Is it, hey, do you want to cash out on the equity? Are you relocating? Whatever it may be, your kid, was moving to a different school district. You want to get closer to. Find your client's motivation.
Gotcha.
3, get to the table. And get to the table means Tom wants equity on his house. He wants the money. Okay, he wants to cash out. I found that out. That was the motivation for Tom. How do I get in front of Tom?
Okay.
How do I talk to you? How do I get you to work with me? Getting to the table means like, okay, you know what? I called you. We had a conversation. I kind of understood what you were looking for. I want that listing appointment now.
Got you. Book that meet.
Book that meeting. And then now I think more important, and last year important as well, but I think now it's crucial is, bulletproof the transaction. Meaning that your contingency periods, you're negotiating on repair credits. Right? Your seller needs, 30 days to move out. Once you get into transaction now, do not lose that deal.
Gotcha.
Right? So make sure that you bulletproof the transaction so that there is no exit point for anybody. Assuming if the client doesn't want to buy, I get it. That's not what I mean.
Yeah.
No loopholes.
Gotcha.
Right? Nothing that you miss where it's going to be,
coming back
25 days in, you're like, oh crap.
Yeah. Makes sense. Good
Absolutely. Be purposeful in your lead generation.
Gotcha.
Right? Be purposeful, whether it's database or not database, be purposeful. Have a plan. Right? I see so often agents just say, okay, I'm going to lead generate today. Okay, great. Lead generate. But what's the outcome? You call an hour and you're done. Nothing happened. Was your goal just to call an hour? Be purposeful, be detailed, and then rinse and repeat. Right? I promise you, if you do that with a purposeful mindset and a plan behind it, you'll see that the needle is going to move. It may be slow, but it will move.
Rinse and repeat. What do you mean by that?
It means if I get in front of the phone today, look, it could be phone, social media, however I lead generate that I think has a really good return on investment. If I sit there and I say, okay, I'm gonna lead generate for an hour, I say, hey, you don't have to lead generate for an hour. You have to lead generate for one solid contact, one appointment. Okay? If that happens in 5 minutes, you're done.
Gotcha.
have an end goal, because an hour is just arbitrary number. I can get through an hour and I'm okay, I'm done. But okay, I didn't do anything.
Right.
I talked to 5 people and 4.5 of them hung up on me, and one of them said, please don't call me.
Right.
Like, it didn't move the needle. But once you understand that, okay, that one appointment or that one contact that's very important, that I have a really good conversation with, like a potential lead to something, that's the goal. If that takes me an hour and a half, that takes me an hour and a half.
Gotcha.
And then tomorrow, same exact mindset. Realtors so often tell me right now, I can't find the time to lead generate.
Yeah.
You can find time for 3-hour lunch, but you can't find time to lead generate.
Right.
You can't ever stop lead generation, right?
Right.
And it's markets like this that shows why we can't.
Yeah.
Last year, God,
yeah,
no one lead generating last year.
What
right?
is lead generation?
It was just coming at us left and right. Now this year is like, okay, but get what? If you were in the habit of it, imagine lead generating last year while the business was coming.
Yeah. Well, those are the agents that are thoroughly thriving right now, that built that had always built their business that way. So my hearing then is, don't lead generate for an hour just to book an hour's worth of time there. Lead generate for a purpose of getting one appointment or getting X amount of leads. Like, make sure you have a focus of the reason why you're lead generating.
Yeah. Like, the beautiful thing about Keller Williams is we teach agents how to run their business like a business.
Yeah.
Right? And this isn't a hobby.
Yeah.
This is a business,
Yeah.
right? And if it is a business, where's your business plan? How many contacts? What are your sales going to look like, right? Actually be very purposeful about it. And those that do really quickly realize, I'm behind schedule, I'm ahead of schedule, right? So like they have a really good handle on their business, and those are usually the ones that are like very successful.
I mean, Keller Williams was the first company that really showed me how to run a business. Every other company that I was at was like, my manager would say, you did great, so go sell another one. But there was never any plan of profit and loss or lead with revenue concepts, hiring my first administrative assistant, my first buyer's agent. So all those concepts that are fundamental for us are probably new for a lot of these other agents that are out there with that stuff. So,
yeah, and I'm not knocking like office meetings.
No.
I think those are great. But classes like Shift, for example, classes like the MREA, they really have a blueprint of how to go do, right? And there's a lot of stuff that I didn't talk about, so else we'll be sitting here all day talking, but controlling your expenses.
Yeah.
Right? And it's not just your business expenses, your personal expenses.
Yeah, you mentioned that when we were chatting about Shift, that they said to go back and reevaluate your expenses.
The idea is to go back and look at your expenses. Again, let's say your personal expenses, right? Real estate, kind of your business kind of bleeds to your personal, right? So go back and look at your expenses and say, okay, what can I not live without? My mortgage payment, my rent payment. I need to pay it, right? Or else I don't have a home. Okay, check. And then kind of move down the hierarchy of things I can't live without, things that are really important, and things that I think are important, but I can probably do without, right?
Right.
And the things that I could probably do without, get rid of. Don't worry about negotiating them. Just get rid of them. Cut them out completely, right? Things that are important, try to negotiate. Things that you can't live without, like mortgage, things of that nature, it is what it is. But things that you like, you need, try to negotiate them. I guarantee you, right? And then coming out of COVID, and I don't know if we're technically still out of COVID, a lot of these companies will allow you to call and say, look, here's my situation. I'm an independent contractor. I'm a business owner. I'm going through, a market shift. I want to be able to renegotiate the subscription I have with you.
Gotcha.
And almost every single time, they will.
Gotcha.
Right? And being able to go really, really lean and mean.
So in a shifting market, one of the big takeaways then is to look at your expenses and really go lean on your expenses. Did they say how long should we be looking to run lean for?
So and again, there's no exact number on this, but hopefully not forever. But the idea is get through this year.
Okay.
Right? They're projecting. Look, the market obviously, again, we all know it's slowed down, right? But they're projecting as we move into the seasonal market, you'll see a significant dip. And coming out of it, I think January, February traditionally has been a slower market, not during the heyday of COVID, but we went back to that last year, and we expect to follow suit this year with a little bit of a lower market.
Gotcha.
But it will come out very quickly. January, February maybe, but you're going to see the market quickly take off. All the analysts, NAR, CAR, anybody that's worthwhile is predicting a really good year next year. And they're still predicting 5 to 7% appreciation in home values.
Wow.
So there's no crash happening here. I'm tired of hearing people talking about crash. There's no crash happening.
Yeah.
It's an adjustment. And just be uncomfortable for 6 months so that you have, the rest of the next year to make up for it.
Gotcha. So to recap then, in a shifting market, get lean.
Mm-hmm.
Get lean on your expenses, both business and professional. Don't be afraid to negotiate those memberships, those gym memberships and subscriptions that you mentioned about. Make sure that you're lead generating, and not just lead generating, but lead generating with a purpose. Just don't say I'm making an hour's worth of phone calls. Say I'm going to call until I get a listing appointment or till I get 4 or 5 leads or something like that.
Your database. Make sure you build a wall around your database, and you make your care calls. Reach out to them.
Yeah.
Right. Reach out to see how they're doing.
Because if you're not, someone else is.
Always. Get your mindset right.
Get your mindset right.
I think everything that we say is great. We can give you 100 different ways to lead generate. Yeah. If you don't believe in yourself and your ability, it's all for nothing, honestly.
Gotcha.
So believe that you can do it and believe that you can be successful at it.
And I guess my takeaway from this too is also don't let these outside worldly conversations of recessions and depressions and wars and 9/11s and all that stuff, because I've worked through all of those.
Yep.
I've been through war, I've been through stock market crash, you name it, earthquakes. I've seen it, I've worked through it. I've just never bought into the outside conversations of, oh, the market's doing bad. My brothers own an automotive business, and they say there's always going to be a car that needs to be fixed. And I say, well, there's always going to be a home that needs to get sold. We just got to go out and now have to work a little harder to go find them.
Opportunity is always there.
Yeah. All right, guys, so that's our topic today in a shifting market. Make sure you stay tuned for any future episodes we have. Subscribe to the channel. We'll get a lot of good information, and we'll talk to you guys real soon. Thank you, Henrik.
Thanks, Tom.
All right, buddy. Talk to you guys soon.